It was a crisp, refreshing morning in Jodhpur, Rajasthan. The air was filled with the subtle fragrance of fresh earth and the sweet scent of flowers as the first rays of sunlight kissed the horizon. It was around 7 a.m. and the city was slowly waking up from its deep slumber. The colony I was exploring was far from the bustle of Jodhpur's more touristy areas, nestled in a quieter part of the city. Here, the houses weren't the iconic blue that the city is famous for, but they had their own charm, a warm sandstone hue that blended with the soft colors of the morning. As I pedaled through the streets, I noticed the rhythmic hum of early morning life. People were stepping out of their homes for their daily walks dressed in comfortable clothes, exchanging pleasant nods with fellow walkers. Two elderly men, one holding a walking cane, were deep in conversation as they strolled down the road. Their pace was unhurried, as if they were soaking in the tranquility of the morning. They embodied the laid-back spirit of Jodhpur's residents, who seemed to be in no rush, savoring the moments before the heat of the day settled in. The colony was a maze of narrow lanes, each one offering a glimpse into the lives of its people. A milkman, with his metal containers clanging softly, cycled through the streets, delivering fresh milk to each doorstep. The clinks of metal containers echoed gently in the air, mixing with the calls of a street vendor who had already set up his vegetable stall on a corner. The sight of fresh green vegetables, neatly stacked, added a burst of color to the otherwise earthy tones of the houses around. The houses themselves were beautifully crafted, built with traditional Jodhpuri sandstone. Many of them were adorned with intricate carvings, showcasing the skilled craftsmanship that this city is known for. Some houses had modern touches, blending contemporary architecture with heritage, while others stood as old and proud as the history that surrounded them. Small balconies jutted out from the upper floors, often lined with potted plants, bright bougainvillea, marigolds and hibiscus adding a splash of life to the stony facades. Passing by a small shop, I noticed it was still shuttered, but the signs on it spoke of traditional sweets and snacks, an essential part of life here, where food brings people together. Just outside the shop, crates of amul, milk containers were stacked, a familiar sight that connected this quiet colony to the larger rhythms of Indian daily life. One lane opened up into a small intersection where a tea stall had begun its day's work. The aroma of fresh chai filled the air, mingling with the faint scent of spices that seemed to drift from the nearby homes. A few people were already gathered there, sipping their cups of tea, their conversations light and filled with laughter. The tea stall, with its rustic charm, was like a community hub, a place where people exchanged stories, discussed daily news, and simply enjoyed the calm before the day took over. This part of Jodhpur wasn't steeped in the immediate grandeur of palaces or fortresses, but it had a quiet beauty of its own, filled with stories and a sense of timelessness. The walls of the houses, many of which looked like they had seen decades, held memories of generations. There was a sense of pride here, of heritage and tradition, mixed with the slow yet steady move towards modernity. Every turn in the colony brought new sights, the deep red of a beauty parlour's walls, the dusty road where a stray dog ambled lazily, and a lone motorcycle passing by, its rider nodding at the vegetable vendor. The streets were narrow but wide enough for life to unfold. A tractor trundled by, the driver giving a friendly wave, while further down the lane, two dogs playfully chased each other across the road, breaking the morning stillness with their exuberance. What struck me most was the feeling of community. People knew each other here, and every interaction, whether it was a brief nod or a few exchanged words, carried the warmth of familiarity. The morning, though quiet and serene, was also alive with the undercurrent of life, a life deeply rooted in the history of this desert city, yet forward-looking and hopeful. As I turned into the final stretch of the colony, the tall stone walls of a house caught my eye. They seemed ancient, standing as a silent witness to the passage of time. I imagined the stories they must have seen, the transformations of the city from a princely state under the Marwas to the thriving modern city it is today. Beyond those walls, the sun had risen higher, casting golden light on the sandstone and illuminating the essence of Jodhpur. The ride was a simple one, yet it left me with a deep appreciation for the city. Here, life was not just about grand monuments and tourist spots, but about the small, meaningful moments: the man delivering milk, the laughter over a shared cup of tea, the slow pace of a walk. It was in these details that the true beauty of Jodhpur resided, and I felt fortunate to have experienced it in such an intimate way.